Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and as you can see, I'm on the road, but that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we are talking about the Amazon Echo, aka the smart home assistant, aka the one that starts with A to wake her up. And you know what I'm talking about, and I've heard from multiples of you every time I say Alexa, I get complaints. Hey, you just fired this thing up. So I'm just going to call it the A word or the Echo, and here's what's going on. This is actually really interesting because pretty soon it's going to start talking to you in the voice of your dead relatives. Now, here's what's up. Amazon's Echo will soon be able to read stories in a loved one's voice, even if they are dead. Now, Amazon says, and this is coming from Sky News for the record, Amazon basically said that it wants to, quote unquote, make memories last, but obviously, this technology wades into rather controversial areas with potential for abuse, and we will talk about that in a moment here. Now, here's what's going on. Your Echo may soon be able to mimic basically, your departed grandmother, a long-lost friend, or even somebody on the television that you basically have recorded off of the Echo device. The goal is to, as I mentioned, to make memories last after, quote, so many of us have lost someone we love during the pandemic. And that is according to Rohit Prasad. He is a senior vice president over at Amazon. And we'll be talking about Mr. Prasad in a moment here as well. At a video conference, at an actual conference in Las Vegas this past Wednesday, a video segment portrayed a child who asked, Echo, a word, can grandma finish reading me The Wizard of Oz? A moment later, the Echo affirmed the command and then changed her voice. Quote, and this is a direct quote from Sky News, she spoke soothingly, less robotically, ostensibly sounding like the individual's grandmother in real life. That, I think, is quite interesting and terrifying all at the same time. But here's the thing. As I mentioned, Amazon's work basically gets into an area of technology that has garnered scrutiny for potential benefits and also abuses. So, for example, Microsoft recently restricted which businesses could actually use its software to do things like Parrot voices, meaning if it's recording my voice and you're ingesting my voice, it is ripe for abuse. The goal here is to help people with speech impairments or other problems, but some worry that obviously this could be used to do things like propagate political deep fakes, meaning you get enough recording of Donald Trump or President Biden or, pick your political leader, and now you can have this thing basically say whatever you want. Amazon obviously not being the only one with this kind of technology. Now, Mr. Prasad basically said that Amazon's aim for the Echo, aka A word, is, and I quote, generalizable intelligence, end quote, or the ability to adapt to user environments and learn new concepts with little external input. He said the goal is, quote, not to be confused with the all-knowing, all-capable, uber artificial general intelligence, end quote, such as basically Alphabet's DeepMind. Recently in the news is their one guy, Blake Lemoine, basically said this thing has become sentient. Still waiting for a response from Blake. I'm trying to get him on my radio show. Or Elon Musk's co-founded OpenAI, those kinds of platforms. Basically, Amazon is basically saying they don't want to do that. They just want this to be able to sound like your dead grandmother, assuming that it can actually learn. And essentially what you do is you basically feed it, audio from there. So in other words, you've got a video of, your grandmother before she passed away, or take your pick, and this will start to understand the voices and then speak to you. Obviously, it's not going to tell you hey, grandchild, do you remember that time I took you for ice cream or anything like that? But you can basically have it read you stories or do other things in that dead relative's voice. So I say all of this to say that in terms of artificial intelligence, even though Amazon claims, we want this to be innocuous, we want this to be fun, we're obviously worried about deep fakes with these kinds of things, especially if they are allowing this intelligence, let's say, to integrate with other aspects. Meaning if I'm developing a skill or app for the Amazon Echo and I'm integrating that, and, can I then gain access to that intelligence to have it be read in the person's dead relative's voice? And if so, then can it be hijacked for other things? Meaning, could I make this thing sound like President Biden or former President Trump or anything else, and then have them do or say things that I could potentially record off that Echo device that would essentially get them into trouble. I could have President Biden say, hey, we're going to nuke the world tomorrow or something like that. If I'm able to do those kinds of things and get that out there, there's going to be a handful of people that are going to see that, basically pick that up and say, oh my God, the bombs are falling tomorrow, when obviously they're not. That's a huge problem. Now, the other thing to consider too is a recent article mentioned, I'm not going to get into that. That might be another another one of these videos and podcasts at some point, is that it was reported that Amazon just poured an absolute ton of money into quantum computing development, obviously tying, the vast capability of quantum computing with an artificial intelligence designed to learn and mimic behavior. And we end up having, something that could eventually be sentient. Are things sentient now, according to, Google's analyst Blake Lemoine, or engineer Blake Lemoine? Yes, I disagree, but again, I want to have the conversation with him. I think it'll be interesting, and here we are. So we're going to see where this goes, but I'd be curious to know, outside of the implications and the ramifications for abuse, if you had the ability on your Amazon Echo device, and there's a zillion of you out there that have Amazon Echo devices, would you want it sounding like your dead grandpa or your dead grandma or that dead sibling or parent or whatever that is? Or would you find that creepy? Would that be comforting or would that be creepy? And I'm curious to know, what your thoughts are on that. We're not quite in the uncanny valley, which basically states that as robots become more human-like, basically we become more unsettled, because even though they are incredibly realistic or more realistic, looking like humans, there's still something off and it's still unsettling. That's the uncanny valley. I'm wondering if that applies just to voice, when obviously, grandma's reading you The Wizard of Oz and she's been dead for 20 years or whatever, and obviously it's not her, but it sounds like her. I have, just anecdotally, I haven't heard my grandmother's voice in, 20 years at this point. And I don't even know if I'm thinking about it just off the top of my head, I don't even know that if I had a recording of her voice and played it back like this, if it would sound recognizable to me. It's been that long. I don't even know if I have those recordings, but so I'm not sure. I'm not sure where I fall on this, but I think it's an interesting question. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. And there we go. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please attempt to stay private. Thanks, everyone.